hit line, and then I guess he hung up.
Hey, David. How's Councilman O'Connell doing? Good.
Honestly.
No, he's
Yeah, he got here sooner than we expected.
called back before. This was it this one? Okay.
You might have to call him now.
Didn't I do all? I thought I turned.
Councilman Pinnable,
Oh.
give her the phone number again.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm glad you're practicing,
Okay.
but you haven't called me that yet.
And then I
Couple
can,
more
I
minutes.
can talk to you here.
Karen, there's your cell phone number 248.
I'd like to call this state of session of City Council to order. I'm sorry we were a little late, but we were in executive session about something that's on the agenda tonight. Please rise for the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. God of love, during this month we celebrate Pride and Juneteenth. Let us thank the trailblazers who fought for the recognition and the freedom for their group, and let us give thanks for all those living in the United States where we have the freedom to never stop expanding the borders for the love and acceptance of all people. Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening to make our city a better place for our residents. We thank all of you for giving us the many blessings in our lives. We ask for your guidance and strength. Show us the way and fill us with courage and wisdom to make our city the best it can be. Lastly, we ask that you watch over these 6 new firefighters, keep them safe as they rescue our residents from fire and other calamities. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Ettinger?
Here.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Here.
Mrs. Rose?
Here.
Dr. Ruggles?
Here.
Mrs. Sultana?
Here.
And Mayor Panto?
Here. Approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Moved in, is there a second? Moved and seconded by Councilman Pinnabone and moved by Vice Mayor Brown. Any additions, corrections, or changes to the agenda? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone? Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Action on our minutes of July 12th meeting.
Move to approve.
Moved by Councilman Ruggles, seconded by Councilman Pinnabone. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Roll call.
Mr. Pinnabone? Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
And Mr. Ettinger?
I abstain.
Yes, I do.
At this time, we're going to swear in our largest recruitment class in the fire department. We have 6 recruits. Would you please come forward? We were at their graduation a couple weeks ago. It was very, very well attended. It was in Allentown.
This one.
One of the other cities.
Congratulations. Guys.
No me.
What's that jingling I hear? Not cheap? I hear jingling.
That's Park give me the money.
Okay.
First, I want to say thank you to these fine young men. They went through a training at the Allentown Fire Academy that was very, very arduous, and most people would not be able to get approved. But I also want to thank the family that's here and friends of these people, because it's time away from home. They will miss birthday parties and dance recitals, etc. And we know that the family support is really important for all of our employees, but especially our first responders when they come back to the house and they've had a long day, maybe a very troublesome day where they had to rescue somebody, or they may even have had somebody injured. And we want to thank them for their service. We also want to thank the Easton Fire Department, because I believe they are joining one of the finest departments in the state, if not the country. Our men and women of the fire department are very active. They train often so that they're at their optimal best. And that's okay. We understand kids cry. But I want to say that they are joining a group of fine firefighters, and we are very proud of our first responders, especially our police and fire. So, Chief, would you like to say anything? Oh, you got that.
Yes, so I would like to, first off, thank all of the members of City Council and the mayor and Lewis, even though he's not here, for their continued support to keep us fully staffed and making sure we have modern equipment for our firefighters to do what they need to do. Welcome aboard, fellas, and hope you have a long and healthy career.
Thank you, gentlemen. Anyone from council want to say anything? Okay. We'll move on to
Chief, firefighter Jessamine should have to sit here for the whole meeting.
What's that?
He should have to sit here for
he's
the
on
whole meeting.
duty. He's got to go back to the station.
You should sit here and watch the whole meeting.
I will.
That's
There you
thank
go.
you,
Thank you.
firefighter Jessamine. He's new. He doesn't understand yet. Okay, we move on to presentation by council. Mr. Hopkins.
Okay, so thank you for the opportunity to give council an update on where we are with the design for the Nescahoning Memorial Park. Oh, yeah, Karen, can you?
It's podium, not
Where is
TV.
it?
It's always good to have IT in the house.
Yeah, it is.
Just as a background, the Nescahoning Memorial Park, we found out, was an African-American cemetery many, many years ago. And it was sold to the city by the church, and now we've located that. We've had underground radar verification that there are people buried there. And so we want to make it, and we take it from a pocket park to a memorial park. So these are the plans that Mr. Hopkins is going to present.
What's that? Oh.
Still on there. Vice Mayor Brown is the head of the chair of the committee that's overseeing this. We have involvement from the Buffalo Soldiers out of Bethlehem, and they've been coming to the meetings, so there we go.
Thanks, Dustin.
Oh,
Up.
This is our next improvement project, is the podium.
Mark, make the line item for that, please.
That's true.
No, it will be sample on the alerts. Artie, you stopped going to Trenton? Is that trial over? Still going on?
Is it Fubard?
How's he doing, all right? No, well, he shouldn't. He shouldn't do good.
Should I
Good for him.
Sure.
He said, oh, he was down every day to Trenton. Yeah, takes the bus from here.
I would stay there.
Why don't you update us?
Yeah, I can wing it. It's not that big of a deal, but what I really wanted to show you were the visuals, because we had some color renderings and they were really nice. The committee did a wonderful job. So so Councilman Brown offered to lead a committee of community members. Those folks were Chuck and Judy Dickerson, Michael and Christine Swint, Sarah Solaris, and Becky Brunio, and the committee did a really wonderful job. They identified all 26 people who were or possibly were interred at the site. We did title work back to the early 1800s. The committee helped do outreach to members of the community. We looked for descendants, sent letters, made phone calls to try and get as many people involved in this process. And the committee also selected the design elements for the park, which I wish I could show you on the screen. Is really beautiful. Basically, there's a planned poured concrete wall that says Nesquehoning Memorial Park, and it goes up. Really beautiful decorative fence around the whole site. Most of the site is grass, actually, and the landscape architect recommended, a granite stone for each possible person that was interred at the site. So there would be 26 granite stones. There was a nice seating bench, for reflection, and it had a pergola over it. It's actually simple in its design, but it's really well done. And I think these people and Councilman Brown deserve our appreciation for putting in over a year of time. We met on Monday afternoons, and it's something that I hope we're proud of when it's finished. Did you have?
I have a copy, yes. Right there.
Oh, okay, great.
I was going to actually tape it to the wall. People can see it then.
But that's really where we're at. So, we've applied for a $250,000 grant, hoping to hear in the fall whether we're successful, and hopefully we can see a 2025 implementation of the improvements. Anybody have any questions?
Carlton, what's the date of that motorcycle run? 27th? There's a kickoff. We won't have the park done by then, but there's a kickoff by the Buffalo Soldiers. They're going to have a motorcycle run from Bethlehem to Easton and up to the Memorial Park. And there'll be a number of people who have been chosen to go up to the park. We'll have a kickoff rally.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
300 block, that's what. Okay, thank you, Mr. Hopkins. At this time, we're at number 8, public comment on agenda items only. If you have any comments from the public on agenda items, you're welcome to come up to the city council podium, offer your name and address in 5 minutes. Anybody would like to address city council on agenda items? Seeing none, move on to the consent agenda, Madam Clerk.
We have a resolution approving a certificate of appropriateness, a COE, for 441-43 Northampton Street. A resolution approving a COA for 328 Bushkill Street. A resolution approving a COA for 121 to 27 Northampton Street. A resolution approving a COA for 26 North 2nd Street. A resolution approving a COA for 46 South 6th Street. A resolution approving a COA for 214 to 16 Spring Garden Street. A resolution approving a COA for 121 to 23 North 3rd Street. A resolution approving a COA for 228 to 30 Northampton Street. A resolution approving a COA for 123 North 2nd Street. And a resolution approving a COA for 131 Spring Garden Street.
Is there a motion to approve
I move the consent agenda.
Move the consent agenda by Councilman Ruggles and seconded by Councilman Pinnabone. Any discussion? I want to thank the Historic District Commission for their work this month. It was a very busy month, as you can see from the agenda. So we'll have a roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
All right.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose? Aye. Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
There are no reports received by council, so I'll go right into committee reports. Finance Committee, Vice Mayor Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. This evening, I don't have anything on the agenda other than our Finance Director, Mark Zaki, will be giving us an update on the May report and also talk a little bit more about the ARPA.
Thank you, Councilman Brown. Good evening, everyone. Prior to tonight's meeting, I provided all of you with hard copies of the May year-to-date results, along with a one-page summary highlighting some of the accounts of note. So I'd like to ask you, I know that you're just getting this, I'd like to ask you to please review it at your leisure. Let me know if you have any questions. We can schedule committee meetings to discuss if you'd like. But in short, I will say that as we approach mid-year, we are trending in the right direction. I'd say most signs are pointing in the right direction, and we'll keep an eye on those that aren't. But at this point, that is my quick update, and I will thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snake.
Any other questions, Mr. Snecki, Vice Chair? Seeing no, Mayor, that is my report for this evening.
Okay, Economic Development, Councilmember Pinnabone.
Thank you, Mayor. We're going to hear a little bit under 14 from Mr. Brett regarding CDBG allocations. Let's see. Last week we submitted 2 grants, one for Highline on South Side, $100,000, and Tree PA, $15,000, which would add trees in our local parks. We also submitted for the police evidence mayor and members of, or directors from the City Hall met with Senator Casey's staff to go over the community center in the West Ward, as well as the Smith Avenue improvement projects. One totaling $500,000, the other $980,000. Currently, we're working with Amans to secure an economic development liquor license. We expect to have a public hearing on their request in August. Mayor, that's all I have.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Councilman Pinnabone?
Mayor, if I may, we didn't touch on the ARPA budget.
Right.
So I don't know if you'd like to go through that, if everyone has had a chance to review that, but John, Dave, and I were ready to address any questions or provide a
Why don't we
quick
wait till we
update.
get to that point under new
We'll get to that?
business?
Okay, that's fine, thank you.
Okay, Planning and Codes Committee, Councilmember Rose.
Thank you, Mayor. The next planning meeting will be held next week, Wednesday, July 3rd at 6:30 p.m. in this room. There are several items on the agenda, so you can find the agenda posted on the city's website. Last night at the City Council Committee meeting, we reviewed the alert system. I will be meeting with Louis Campos, the city administrator, when he returns from vacation regarding resident communications, specifically social media and the website. And I will be sharing a communications plan proposal with council after those meetings. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Ruggles, Public Safety Committee.
Thank you. Just wanted to let everybody know that we will be having the LiDAR training in the police station in the week of July 9th. So that's coming up, and we're looking forward to getting that implemented. That's all I have.
Very good. Public Works Committee, Councilmember Ettinger.
I have no report tonight, Mayor.
Administration Committee, Councilmember Sultana.
I joined the meeting last night, Mayor, where we discussed Councilwoman Crystal's and some other issues, but I personally did not have any meeting with Mr. Lewis, and he's not here. So I might be love to be part of the alert system. Crystal, if you can, forward me the information, and I would love to meet with.
Sure, we did review it at last night's meeting.
Right, but further with Mr. Campos.
Yeah, I will be sharing the proposal
Okay,
with everyone.
awesome, perfect. Thank you so much. That's all I have, Mayor.
Absolutely.
Okay, report of the mayor. I just want to go over a couple things. We are again experiencing problems at the Carlstone Arch Trail in the Bushkill Creek area with out-of-towners coming in and parking and bringing all kinds of goodies and leaving. At this week's Mr. Hopkins, I think it was 2 truckloads of trash. 2 truckloads of trash. We're spending every Monday just cleaning up after people who are coming here and just trashing the place. We are very concerned about it because the Bushkill Creek has had some of the dams removed, 3 of them, I think, and the water level is like 6 inches. So if they decide to jump off the bridges again like they did last year, they're going to get hurt. So we are going to be positioning police officers there. We're going to limit parking on Bushkill Drive with cement barriers, but they're parking into Simon Silk Mill and walking across their bridge. So I just want to mention that we are on top of it. It was the first nice weekend, and they're there. Councilman Pinnabone talked about Senator Casey's staff visit yesterday. We did visit the site where we're planning on putting the community center in the West Ward. That will be announced this fall after people get done with their vacations. Where we're really looking to build a community center in the West Ward for the students, the young people there, and the seniors. It'll not only be a community center for kids, it'll be also for senior center. We have no senior centers left in the city. So it'll be a place for seniors to go to during the day and get socialization, a free lunch, and on days like last week, get out of the heat. We also then looked at Smith Avenue, which is, and Third and Larry Holmes Drive, which are 2 treacherous intersections. Going up Smith Avenue, the grant is going to include widening the sidewalk on the stair side, the park side. Right now, you walk down the steps, you come to a 2-foot sidewalk. So we're looking for earmarks from the federal government for that. On July 8th, we have Senator Siger coming to the city. Senator Siger is on the cabinet of the governor. He is the secretary for DCED. He is coming to look at the community center site, and the Shiloh Commons site. We're looking for PHFA to give us 9% tax credit, so in order to fund that project. City Council will get an email from me inviting them to, I think it's gonna be 11 o'clock, but once we lock down the time, we'll send out that. Tonight, the resolution for the Hooper House, we can talk about that. And just for the public's edification, we're not gonna talk about the eminent domain. The resolution, under the advice of our solicitors. But when we get to that, right now, there's 3 sites. The first site that we selected, and we already have a drawing for, architects are drawing up, is 10th and Pine. We do have control of that site. The other site that we would like to put it on is known as St. Anthony's Square, where Franklin School used to be, at 9th and Walnut. And the last site, which we think is probably the premier site, is at the old women's home on 10th and Northampton. That'll put it right on Northampton Street so kids can take the bus to it and not have to worry about it. I will also be introducing my code of conduct tonight. I gave it out to City Council. Was there any questions or comments or additions or deletions? Everybody's okay with it? Okay. I just want to give you an update on the economic development project. As we sit here and watch the marquee goes up, they're 4 weeks ahead of schedule. We sat here last night at 6:15 and saw people still working over there. That has also then pushed the 2 groups that joined together, the developer of the marquee and the developer of the conference, have come together to form a new business to do both of these projects. Because that's ahead of schedule, instead of starting in September, the conference will start in July. So we're looking forward to that starting. We also have, I know traffic is a problem with the construction, but we also have, in July will be the start of the Great Square Hotel, where One Center Square, that'll be going up. Those people agreed not only to tear down the building because the building was not structurally sound, but they will replace all the Art Deco building, and it'll be basically building the first 2 floors exactly as they were. They do have HTC approval. Also, the Albanese restaurant is scheduled to be our next restaurant to open up in the 2nd week of July. It's where Ocean was. It's the same owner. They just do an upgrade for the entire interior was gutted and redone, and it'll be Albanian, Italian, Greek, and Egyptian food. So we're looking forward to that opening. So that's an update on the economic development, which causes traffic concerns. But the other update is UGI is almost done with the main on Bushkill Drive because that's been closed. And they're paving the West Ward. They started paving the West Ward, streets that they put all the trenches in. So as they did my street, I will tell you I have gas, and I'd rather have the inconvenience of the traffic and the streets ripped up rather than going boom. I did have a house behind me blow up on Ann Street. Person was in the hospital for a long time. That house has not been rebuilt yet, but UGI is under court order to replace all the mains and laterals that haven't been replaced in 30 years. So ours are about 50 years old. So they're doing that. Yes, it was on College Hill. Now it was on South Side. Now it's in the West Ward. And that's the end of my report. Joel. Report of solicitor. The administrator is not here.
Officially, the city solicitor can't figure out how to open anything in their iPad. But besides that,
Just your iPad, no?
just my iPad. The city council met in executive session immediately prior to tonight's meeting to discuss matters involving real estate and litigation, and that's the extent of my comments.
Thank you.
Did you want to? And Mr. Clark is going to address, and I.
Just for the purposes of clarification for both council and for members of the public, the item we're voting on, that you'll be voting on today rather, is the authorization, or a resolution rather, authorizing the solicitor's office to prepare the necessary documents to execute a taking of the Hooper House if it comes to that. This vote today isn't to actually conduct the taking itself. It is just to approve, in order for it to happen, there needs to be a resolution that the solicitor's office can cite to for the courts to say, yes, you had the authority to do it. So that's what you're voting on today. There's still other steps to be taken. It will not happen because of the vote today.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. The last item I have is a proclamation that was given. One of the grants that we were able to receive was for the South Side neighborhood is the Blueprint Communities, and we've been going to training, and there's 10 people on the committee, and the first training was of 2 full days out in Harrisburg. We've been meeting with the Easton committee. We just met again Monday night, and then we are going to Sunbury in July for a full day training out there. And Austin Davis is our lieutenant governor, and he presented a proclamation that says, now therefore, we congratulate the city of Easton for being selected as a 2024 Blueprint Communities cohort. And I want to give that to Mr. Councilman Pinnabone, who is also on the committee. The Blueprint Communities, we expect them to use the exact same program for both the West Ward and College Hill neighborhood and the downtown. So we have 4 neighborhoods in the city, and we got a grant to do the first one, and the first one we put in for was Southside. So that's being handled mostly by the Department of Planning and the Department of Community and Economic Development. We just attended, many of us on city council attended the opening of ribbon cutting of Mikasa Restaurante, which is at the top of the Southside Hill, Smith Avenue. We are trying to rebuild the businesses, the mom and pop businesses that were on the south side. We have a lot of mom and pop businesses in the West Ward, but we don't have many on the south side. They've opened and they've closed, and they really haven't been involved in part of the economic development of that company. We do have Bravo, the old supermarket back here at the end of the southernmost end of Southside is getting ready to open. They have their temporary certificate of occupancy. We have another restaurant that's looking to move into the 700 block of Berwick Street. So, and we also have Dollar General Plus, which is already open, and I've been going there. It's been great. They've been open about 2 months. They're still very clean and are not over inventoried, which is a real problem with some of our stores that we comment on. Won't comment on which ones, but so that's the end of the reports. Going into unfinished business, Madam Clerk. There's no correspondence. Oh, Mr. Ravitz.
Mayor, I thought eminent domain was an established legal precedent. Why are we now revisiting it? Question whether it's active or.
Yeah, that's.
This is in order. It's out of order, the question. The question's out of order, but that's for the chair.
Well, if you tell me it's out of order, it's out of order. We're not going to talk about it. We're not going to discuss it. We've never filed against the Rock Church owners of the Hooper House. I believe very strongly, and I can say this part of it, that we have 2 years to restore it. I think it should be done for the 250th anniversary of the country. And so we're bringing it up now.
And when I said it's out of order, what I meant to say is that once we start doing business after the portion of the agenda, and considering if it's not a public hearing, it's the beginning where the public's invited to speak on matters on the agenda, not while the matters are being discussed. And then there's an opportunity, of course, at the end of the meeting. And that's what I meant by being out of order. We can't just have people from in attendance yelling out questions and then entertaining it, because that will disrupt your entire flow.
Okay, good point. Thank you for the point of order. Unfinished business, Madam Clerk.
Bill number 18, approving an easement agreement with the Easton Area School District.
Is there a motion to move?
Motion.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Pinnabone, second by Councilman Rose. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles? Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Under new business.
We have a resolution replacing the existing code of conduct.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second by the mayor and the vice mayor. Roll call. Any discussion? I'm sorry. Additions, deletions, corrections? Hearing none. Roll call.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Altana?
Aye.
And Mr. Brown?
Aye.
A resolution taking Hooper House by eminent domain.
Motion.
Moved by Councilman Pinnabone. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Ettinger, seconds. Any questions or comments? Roll call.
Mr. Panto?
Aye.
Mayor Panto, I'm sorry.
I could be my dad. He's 96 and doing well.
Mr. Pinnabone? Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
We have a resolution approving an indemnification agreement with GEDP.
So moved.
Second.
Motion. Second.
Okay.
Discussion?
Roll call.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye. Moving on.
A resolution authorizing DCED to apply to PennDOT ARLE program.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Ms. Sultana?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
A resolution amending the revised ARPA budget.
Well, so moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah.
Oh.
There's no discussion.
Oh, okay. I thought,
Others might say want to discuss it.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Ms. Sultana?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
We have a resolution approving an agreement between the City of Easton and HUD for community block grant funds.
Move.
Mr. Pinnabone would like to say something.
Thank you, Karen. Mayor, if you don't mind, I'd like to have Michael Brett come up from the RDA to explain the allocations that we're voting on. Mr. Brett?
Thank you, Mr. Pinnabone. My name is Mike Brett. I'm Deputy Director of the Redevelopment Authority. We have Executive Director Don Kingsley here, and Sarah Eddings, our Fiscal Officer, as well. Real quick, this is their second public hearing of this process. At the first public hearing on May 8th, you heard from the applicants wishing to receive some funds. In that time, the council was provided a recommended budget by staff and access to the full applications of the applicants for your consideration. So what you have in front of you is what I would consider proposed final budget for the allocations. We did receive feedback from 2 council people that was put into the budget in front of you, so we would recommend this for approval tonight. If you'd like, I can, for the public, I can go down the allocations. At least
Normally do that or what?
Yeah.
Sure.
Community Action Lehigh Valley, Generation Next, $10,000. For Community Bike Works, Easton Earn a Bike, $10,000. Family Connections of Easton, Parent-Child Home Program, $8,000. GEDP Ambassador Program, $47,000. Lehigh Valley Public Telecommunications Corps, PBS Smart Cart Program, $8,000. Project of Easton Student Success, $10,000. Rising Tide CACLV Community Loan Fund, $8,000. The Neighborhood Center Case Management Services, $10,000. Easton Community Center Resurface Driveway and Parking Lot, $8,283. Internal applications, which would be departments within the City of Easton. We have Police Community Crime Prevention at $39,000. DPW Vanderveer Park at $41,800. DPW Road Construction at $115,000. Code Enforcement with Blight and Property Maintenance Inspections, $120,000. Program Admin, $185,000. Property Acquisition and Rehabilitation for Affordable Housing, $180,000. Blight Demolition, $129,917. And Disposition, which covers all the holding costs and some of the engineering and surveying for the demolition and of light and affordable housing projects. Are there any questions on those allocations?
Thank you, Mike.
For a total of $1 million allocation from HUD as part of the consortium with the county. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brett.
Thanks for your work.
Mayor, if I could just say, Michael Brett and his staff, Sarah in the back, were very instrumental in helping. I know myself and Crystal to really understand the process so we can participate in the allocation of funds. Every group that applied is deserving of every dollar they want. Unfortunately, we don't have an endless amount. So, Crystal, thank you for helping me as well, and the RDA. So, thank you.
We discussed CDBG with the senator's staff yesterday because it's always on the chopping block, always. And every organization is worthy of more money if we had it, but we got to stay within $1 million. And we talked to them about it. Kennedy is the program person, I guess, in Washington. She was very knowledgeable, but I don't see the Congress giving us any more money. I don't see them increasing it. We're just hoping that they don't cut it.
Continue?
Go ahead.
A resolution approving a license agreement with the developer of the Marquee Apartment.
We didn't vote on that.
We didn't
Oh,
vote on it.
sorry,
Yeah.
you're right.
I only introduced the motion, nobody seconded.
Second.
All right. Okay, Ms. Sultana?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Eddinger?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
And Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Thank you. A resolution approving the license agreement with the developer of the Marquee Apartments.
Motion.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Roll call. Mr. Hopkins, you want to just let us know what that's all about? Oh, it's not you? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen, ladies.
Thank you.
Bye, Lori. Thanks for that meeting the other day. It was very good. Okay. Is there any discussion on the marquee?
Nope.
Okay. Been moved and seconded. We'll roll call.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Eddinger?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Ms. Sultana?
Aye.
We have a resolution approving a proposal from the National Water Main in the amount of $181,950.
Motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Eddinger?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Ms. Sultana?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
And last, we have a bill number 19, approving the update to the parking garage fees, section 285-42B.
Motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
It's to be introduced.
It's introduced.
It's introduced.
Oh, sorry, I didn't pay attention.
So just move. At this time, we have public comment on any item at all. Mr. Ravitz. You can sit there. Oh, no, you,
And I video.
it's being televised.
We want you on TV.
Before we adjourn, if there's anything from council, right?
Yeah, at the
I
end of
just didn't see it here. Thank you.
Okay. I would love, Artie Ravitz, 144 Church Street, Easton, Pennsylvania. I would love to know what happened to eminent domain. I thought that was an established legal precedent that we could solve problems with, one of which is the Hooper House. The second is spot parking in the West Ward or other areas that you have a space to put a small parking lot in. That's the first question.
Jeremy, Mr. Clark.
Sir, what do you mean by what happened to eminent domain?
Well-
It didn't go anywhere.
Can't council pass a eminent domain resolution on small vest pocket parking lots?
Oh,
Instead of just one on one building? Why not use it to make more parking available for West Ward people? Like, I don't hate to just say one thing, but the most obvious to me is a St. Anthony's parking lot on
well, there
Washington Street.
there are rules both in federal constitutional law, state law, and that will limit how you can use eminent domain, what you can use it for. Obviously, it has to be for a public purpose.
Yeah.
And obviously, how you would structure if you wanted to do eminent domain, I'm sure it's been done for parking, but I don't know that you could do it for. I don't know what you mean by spot parking.
Well, parking just in a spot.
Right.
You put eminent domain for that lot is what I meant, spot parking. I didn't mean you have to have
And you're saying to take a lot and then make it a public parking lot?
Can't our city council use eminent domain to make smaller best pocket parking areas in the city?
I'd have to look into that to be sure, but I would, if council wanted to, theoretically, public or eminent domain could be used to take private property for public parking, provided it's owned by, would have to be retained by the city and owned by the city. We couldn't transfer it to another owner to use for parking or to own the parking itself. The question is, do you want to go? That's a political question behind that as well. Is do you want to go down that road? But from a purely legal standpoint, that could be done.
Hey, Jermaine, just
probably.
Jermaine, just a question.
It's something the council will consider anyway.
Eminent domain.
Yes, sir.
You have to show cause why you want to do that.
Not particularly.
Well, you have to have a public purpose.
Right.
Correct.
And the thing is, you really, I mean, I think the concept has been that eminent domain is used very sparingly.
Exactly.
And because you're still dealing with someone's property rights. I mean, the issue that you just passed tonight is something that's 20 years in the making, probably, at least. But that's, just going through the city and taking people's property for maybe a legitimate public purpose, that has to be really carefully considered. But it's for the public body initially, and then the solicitor's office would have to figure out, are we within the bounds of that? But it's just not that simple.
Okay, thank you. Second issue, Mayor, is I have collected over the last 60 years or 65 years 65 of these different old newspapers. VE Day, for example, Selma March Day, and I'm offering my collection to the city to put up in a display either downstairs or wherever the city feels it would like to do it. I have a small little computer chip that I could make it any size we want. I could buy these very, very cheaply for about $2 a sheet. I can buy a spray can for $15 for all the sheets practically, and I can get these photocopied for $2 a page, or if it's color, for $5 a page in a printing press in Bethlehem. So that's what I'm suggest the city consider as a ongoing display somewhere walking into the city council or into the city hall or any other place in the city that council decides they'd like to do it. Okay, thanks.
Well, the lobby of City Hall has been a real crux to me. It's barren. It's wasted space. It's horrible. I've asked the Siegel Museum to do a annex down there, and so I would say that you should talk to the Siegel Museum. Their curator was busy with their own exhibits at the time. Hopefully they'll get back to this. And what I'd like to see down there is an annex of the Siegel Museum, which offers urban renewal. Since we're in the heart of the urban renewal projects of 60s and 70s, that we do that downstairs.
I talked to the Siegel Museum already. They're only interested in Easton history.
Okay. Anyone else like to address City Council? Mel?
Melody Rogers, 710 West Berwick Street, Easton, PA. Mayor, have you talked to the people like in that where Chubby's is over there, that strip mall? We have now, and I've looked at these pictures for the new nail place, very elegant, beautiful place. And then you look to the left, and it's the crappiest looking couple stores down there. Can't they be told or asked to get help to like do the facade on it to make it look a little bit better? Because basically the nail place makes that place look out of just out of an ordinary. It doesn't even look good. And I was thinking that it was just a beautiful looking place, and it could do such good. I would go there in a heartbeat if the rest of the mall would look half decent, but it looks so crappy over there. I mean, Chubby's looks nice with the best chicken in the world, and then you have the nail place and my favorite Chinese place is over there, but it still looks crappy over there. It doesn't look nice and clean. It looks really dingy and dull. Is there anything we can talk to these people and see if we can get them to do something about it?
The codes talks about life safety. It talks about structural safety. It doesn't talk about what it looks like.
Yeah.
So unless you have exposed wood, then if it's not painted, we can force them to paint it. I was at the ribbon cutting for the nail salon last couple days ago, and they made it sound as if they're going to do something to the outside of the nail salon.
So on the left side, it was all garbage, if you remember. They actually ripped it all up,
I
put
saw
posts
that.
there, and they did all that, and they want to add flowers and seating and stuff to make it nice, but they're doing it on their own, not the owner.
But that's what I'm saying. When you just like look at it, it's just like really shabby up there. I mean, there's got to be something we could do. I mean, these people have the opportunity to have like grants and things given to them to just do things for it. Why can't they just want to do it? I mean, just,
Well, I can assure you they've not applied for any facade restoration program.
yeah, I'm sure too. But that's what I was thinking about. How do we get them to want to do that? How do we get them to want, to make it?
My pet peeve, I pass it every day. I mean,
Yeah.
I live down here. My pet peeve is the ugly chain link fence that is along the exterior.
So true.
But I went back to Pino's the other day, and I said to Councilman Pinnabone, we were talking about Bravo, and if I was the owner of that food store, I'd have never have signed a lease until I said to Mr. Joseph, you repave the parking lot.
It's really
It's
bad.
a mess.
It's really bad.
It's a mess. I mean, do I want to go back there and shop for food and have to go back and get a realignment of my tires back after I'm done?
It's really bad.
It
But
is.
but they want to have something nice, and they're going to bring in the clientele. The people are going to come, but they don't want to come where it's, and especially in the wintertime, because they don't plow the darn parking lot because everybody knows that it's all icy and everything else. They do the best they can, but it's not a great place to to park and stuff. It's really bad.
That's you, Mr. Pinnabone.
I know. Sorry, Mr. Pinnabone.
Mel is fully, you know what?
No, I mean, I parked over there and we were doing something. I was over there with Frankie and he says, hey, move your car over because that's going to be a sinkhole and you might not find your car because it was like really settling down. It's really pretty bad. I mean, if they
I'll
just take care
I'll
of
have the Mr. Tillman and his crew look at it.
it. Okay. Thank you so much.
Anyone else? Yes.
Send Dave Hopkins over there with a shovel.
Hi there, Michelle Miller Nodsley.
Spell your last name, please.
Nodsle, 502 Northampton Street.
Thank you.
I just was reading in the news and about the Hooper House. Most of what I read was Mayor Panto saying, I want, I think. And I wasn't involved in anything that has been going on there for the last 20 years, but from what I've read, it was supposed to be a community center. And I kind of wondered if anyone went to them and said, hey, we can get you a grant and fix your front windows, because the upper windows are brand new.
They've been offered assistance for the last 50 years.
Okay. And so what I want is for you and the rest of you to think about Pulowski and his eminent domain blunder.
What eminent domain blunder?
What eminent domain blunder? This is a historic structure that will be used for community purposes. We have every right to take it by eminent domain, but we don't want to.
Okay.
We basically said that. We're getting approval tonight. We got approval tonight to start the process. If it doesn't, we're giving them one last chance. But 60 days from now, it's got to be done. I mean, I was mayor from 84 to 92 and I couldn't get it done. And it was bad then. And, if you owned a blighted property, your code department would be on your butt all the time. But we get them to the table and they said they're going to do something and then they don't do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
for coming. So you're across the street? Yeah. Because they're 501. Anyone else like to address city council? See none? Anybody on council have anything to add?
Mayor, I have two things I want to mention. I'm mentioning it tonight, and if any council members would like to discuss it with me over the next couple weeks, I'll be available. There's two things that I plan to bring next month's committee meeting. The first thing is, I think it's time we open up the home rule charter and get the mayor off of council. No disrespect, mayor.
I agree with you.
But I want to open up the home rule charter, and I don't know. I wasn't here when it originated, but it just still doesn't make any sense to me. And I think the mayor should be off of council. I prefer a strong mayor form of government. So I'm going to be bringing that up for committee for discussion at the next meeting.
Well, I would first ask the solicitors to look into how the process.
Well, I was going to bring it up for discussion to make sure council was in agreement before we looked at the process and everything. Second thing on affordable housing. I mentioned it during the campaign, and I apologize. I never moved on it in the last 6 months that I've been here. Going forward on new developments, I want to put something together. I want to propose something, and I hope we adopt it or something similar. When a developer comes in, if they get any subsidies, alerta, grants, or anything, they're going to be required to make 10% affordable. If they don't, we charge a per unit fee, $25,000, $30,000. City of Bethlehem is up to $52,000 a unit if they don't make at least 10% affordable. Also doing some research, I talked to State Representative Solomon, who passed something a few years ago at the State House to where if a developer makes 30% or more units affordable, they get a 10-year tax abatement, which is already on the books in the state. And that's something that I think we should start instituting. Mayor, as you know, and hopefully many people on council, we don't have a lot of affordable housing because there's no money in doing so. So we have to offer these incentives and these tax breaks and these perks to get developers to make it worth their while to do it. And I think that's something that we really need to look into. So I'll be bringing that to committee as well. And hopefully we can start those discussions and get these two things looked at. So if any council members have any questions or ideas, reach out to me prior to the next meeting.
One question in reference to that. Once we go through discussion and stuff like that, that's have to go on the next, if it passes for council, it goes on the next cycle.
Which one are you talking about?
For the change of the charter.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to take a while. It has to go on to voting for the public.
Correct.
My goal is, though, to get the council's input.
Okay.
If we like it, we'll talk about it. I've already spoken to Lewis about it. You got to form a committee and do everything else. So it's not something that'll happen in a meeting. It goes to the ballot and people vote on the election. But, it's long overdue. So I think we need to start those conversations in the next meeting.
Roger. Dr. Ruggles, go ahead. Dr. Ruggles, did you want to address city council? No, guess not.
That's all I have.
Well, I would be against your affordable housing penalty for not making people aware. As a person who built houses, it costs the same amount of money to build a house whether you sell it for $150,000 or $300,000. I mean, that's just the way it is. To force you will stop development in the city and hurt affordable housing on the deep end because people won't bother coming in and create. The biggest problem right now with the housing market is there's no inventory. So it's a law of supply and demand. If there's high demand right now but no supply, but if you put penalties on it, you're going to force people to not build the 500 units that we have under construction now. I think we've got to talk about it.
Absolutely. And I'm also going to say, I have some documentation from other municipalities that are doing it, and it's definitely something to talk about. They're having success with it. Bethlehem started at 30,000, had success, bumped it up, and they bumped it up again to 52. I wasn't there at 52. I mentioned 30 during the campaign, so I'm still there, or 25. But we could definitely talk about it. But I mean, something.
What you're doing is you're creating a vacuum in the workforce housing, because we want to provide low-income housing, but what about workforce housing? The people who are teaching our kids or nursing or healthcare, they need housing too. And so what you're going to do is you're going to limit the amount of housing that you have coming on board to try to help the low income. But the low income we already provide over 700 units of low income housing through our housing authority. The suburbs aren't doing anything.
So maybe I should, you're right, the suburbs are not doing anything. I agree with you 100%.
Mike Brett
Maybe
left.
I should change, huh?
Mike Brett left.
Yeah, Palmer Township. Maybe I should change it to say quality affordable housing. I don't, my father grew up with you in Delaware Terrace. It's nothing on the housing projects, but that's not exactly what I'm looking for our family. So, I know Shiloh's working on it. We're having a hell of a time. As you know, it's hard to do. We've given, and I've always supported it. And when I was on the school board, we voted for the LERTA years ago with the 13th Street Silk Mill. I always supported giving incentives to bring development in. We've brought development in. And I feel now we need to shift focus and offer those same incentives for affordable housing and not just market rate housing. I do believe with the market rate that has been done and the city has been very successful, it's going to offer opportunity in other neighborhoods for lower rent or lower homes to buy. But I think overall we need to do more and give more incentives, such as what I mentioned, what other municipalities are doing to promote the affordable piece, because a lot of people are just getting priced out.
And what Mr. Pinamone is actually talking about is the federal government has a program called 202 projects. And the 202 projects, the developer and the landlord goes to 70-30. And I give you an example of that. Easton, I think it's called Easton Housing right here across from Social Security, they're 70-30. 70% of the occupancy is under 30%. The other on market rate. But the reason why it works is because the federal government's involved and they're getting a stipend in order to make their rent work.
I have no problem providing low-income housing, and we're doing that. I have no problem providing low-income housing, but that's what we're doing. The only way low-income housing works is if it's federally, it's subsidized by the government. I mean, it's that simple. I mean, we know that the money we appropriated $3.9 million of our ARPA funds for affordable housing. I don't know what else we can do. We have no land. The land is out in the suburbs. The three mayors we meet, and affordable housing is one of our objectives and environmental issues. And we talk about affordable housing all the time. I just don't think you provide penalties for developers. And if the goal is to stop development, you'll do that. I guarantee you that developers are not going to build in Bethlehem anymore.
As of my understanding, Mr. Pintabone is talking about sustainable housing, right? But just a quick question, Mr. Pintabone. This would be without the government involvement, right? Because some of the affordable housing that I have been looking around, like in different states, they offer according to your income. Like they don't ask government to be involved, but they see your income status. They see their income, and then they ask for rent according to your income and your family.
That's what the mill is on Southside. It's income based.
Is this something that you are considering?
Yeah, so I'm not looking at government assistance. I mean, first of all, I don't have anything set in stone. I want to have the discussion. Even if the 30%, which is slightly different what I'm talking about than the 202 that Mr. Brown thought I was talking about, we can do a 10%, right? Where 10% has to be affordable, and the rest can be market rate rents. And no, it doesn't have to be government. But if we're giving a tax subsidy, if we're giving grant money to developers, in most cases, millionaire developers, if we're giving that assistance, and I like what you've done, Mayor, and you've taken some money for the parks, and that was a great idea. But I think we can go a little bit more and help. Instead of just doing parks, we could do housing. So that's what I mean, I have, my son is 25. He has a girlfriend, she's a nurse. My son works, they have 2 kids. It's hard out here. It's hard out here to find a half-decent apartment to rent.
Absolutely.
And again, with the sale and the mortgage rates at 7%, it doesn't make sense for him to buy. And they both work hard, they do what they're supposed to do, and they can't, there's nowhere to live. So,
That's not low income.
No, that's not. That's workforce.
It's a workforce. And you want to talk about You want to talk about workforce? I'll be more than happy. If you're gainfully employed and you still can't afford a place, a roof over your head, we need to talk about that. I'm all for workforce housing, but low income housing, I think the city, we have 8,000 units in the city, and we have over 800 low income materials are getting the same price for you as they are for the guy down in Old Orchard.
I know, I totally get it. So what we're doing is, though, we're relying on government help. We're relying on the city, the county, the state, federal to close that gap for us, which is $75,000 a unit, so we can make it happen. So, partnering with these groups and making sure they're going for, $150,000 house, you're going to have 75 in equity right off the bat. It's a lot easier to attain than somebody else having 225. They're only going to be able to do that as if we subsidize it. I'm okay with subsidizing it, but we need to make sure we're not subsidizing it just for market rate rents as we've been doing.
And if I could just ask you,
No, I don't want to hear it. I'm just kidding, Joe.
when you've developed these programs, you have to be really careful how you do it. So if you sell it for $150,000, are there covenants or restrictions as to what you would resell it for?
Absolutely. John King's, I don't want to throw him under the bus, but he could probably explain it better than me, especially on this. But there are stipulations. You can't turn around and flip it, to get your profit. So there are long-term agreements, so it's for people just starting out in family. So there would be a lot of things. But again, I don't have an answer.
Yeah,
I'm bringing it up so we can discuss it. And
I grew up in Brooklyn. I grew up where we moved to 10 to Mitchell Lama Housing, which was subsidized. You own co-ops, you own your apartments. It was subsidized, but you had an income check even though you owned it, you still had an income resource check every year. It could affect, I guess, your management fees, but the bottom line was the city wasn't taxing it. And that's where the makeup was. It turns out like 15 years later, or 20 years later, everyone turned around. They couldn't sell it for more than $3,500. You paid $3,500,
right.
And they realized that they were losing so much value. Excuse me. They couldn't afford to work themselves up the chain and still be stuck with it. And they wound up Lamatizing. Anyway, the bottom line was they bought themselves out of that for about $50,000, and all of a sudden they converted to $150,000 from $3,500.
Right.
It just gets complicated, but I'm sure there's the formulas, and you work with it, and good luck.
I'm sure we have an attorney that can help us with it.
I don't know.
Jeremy, you busy?
Yeah. By the way, the project that you're talking about, is that one on Phillips Street?
That's the Phillips. The
Okay,
other Commons will be 60 units.
Okay, because the 7 unit is on the planning commission for next Wednesday, July 3rd.
Next Wednesday night.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Any other comments from the council? I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion.
Second.
Moved to second. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mrs. Rose?